Welcome to today's IEN talk. We have a very interesting talk today with Thorsten Kroke from EClass. EClass is a very interesting partner in the IoT ecosystem. And the reason why is, in my experience, a lot of errors can be led back to failures in communication. Whenever people are interacting and not completely comprehending each other, it will likely lead to errors down the line. And I don't think machines will be any different. Thorsten?
Yes, hello, greetings.
Welcome. We're very happy to have you here. You must be very busy. I've looked through the website. There are a lot of items already standardized on your site, and I know EClass, you work with IOTA, but I didn't know it went back all the way to the year 2000. It was established in 2000. What has happened since? What was the goal then, and what have you been building?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'm very happy to be here and a little bit excited to have you all on board. And for some sentence to some kind of history lesson 20 years ago, it goes back to the famous e.com phase from the company. So that's a funny thing because EClass have this very small e in front of and this @ sign. And this is this leads directly to the past 20 years here. And that was an interesting thing because some big companies from Europe want to establish a classification standard, and they have founded under German law association, which was caring about classification for industrial products. Classification means the right kind of product that you can describe the right tool, the right resource, or the right machine. And that has the origin in to have very transparent information in the procurement process of big companies. But in the next years, I think it was 25 or 26 on, a classification is not only feasible if you do want to have product descriptions. So then the EClass Association invented properties. Properties are very important to describe attitudes of an asset or product. For example, its color, its weight, its temperature, depending on the kind of product you have. And EClass goes very successful because it was the key enabling factor for a data exchange. And then it developed to the data exchange between systems and machines. And today it is used from industrial companies for their data exchange. For example, the supplier company offers some spare parts or something else and is delivering them to their customers, so their backend systems communicate and their producing machines can communicate to each other. And the main reason is they want to avoid losses of information. And it's like you mentioned in your introduction, it's very interesting to have all these information available without a loss, and everybody understands it. It's like a language. Oh, Bas, you're muted.
Thank you. A lot of people watching right now know EClass through its cooperation with IOTA. Why would companies use EClass? Isn't the standard like IOTA sufficient?
Unfortunately, not yet. You can in the area of standards, you can describe IOTA as a very, very smart and very good technical solution for transport and communication of information. Thinking of the powerful idea of being decentralized to have payments on board, it is for me the very best solution for industrial applications here. But the drawback is if you want to share information in automatic processes from machine to machine, you need to ensure that the right piece of information is transported. I give you an example. You have in the complex machine a sensor who is getting information on temperature, for example. And he is collecting a 40. But what does this 40 degree mean? 40 degree in Fahrenheit, 40 degree in Celsius? You didn't get it. And so the standard is very helpful to get the right interpretation. And then EClass can support this here. And EClass...
Like we lost the Mars lander with metric and the
Yes.
American system.
Yes. For example, and that's the reason behind it. EClass is only a piece of a standard with the goal of fully autonomous automation of getting producing things from the industry.
Very good. How does it work? How does the technology work?
The idea behind EClass is that it's first of all only machine readable. You have it is called IRDI. It is a specific code, only machine readable, and you put information on this IRDI, and this is connected in so-called structure elements. If it is a property, what kind of property, to describe something. And you can imagine an Excel sheet, for example. You have different columns here. And EClass gives you the description of the columns. And so if I have an Excel sheet and write everything onto it and send it to you, you can read it because you can read the columns and you can interpret it. And EClass gives you the description of the columns here, and you can put your own data on it.
You're saying the EClass as a standard, but is that your own standard or is it an ISO standard? How general is it?
Yeah, good question. First of all, and I'm going very deep into the philosophical background here. IC and ISO are providing norm standards. That means well-regulated descriptions, only human readable. EClass is a machine readable standard. That is the main distinction here. And second is EClass is following all the forms that the IEC and ISO has written down, for example, to describe something. And EClass is following the IEC and ISO norms. And it is the only standard, except for the CDD from IEC itself, which is following fully the IEC 61360 norm to describe product descriptions here.
Yeah, we're all familiar with that one.
Yeah, that's for the technical experts here caring about IEC norms. so sorry for that.
No worries. I'm in communication and I do have an engineering background, but I went the other way.
Wonderful.
Well, construction engineering. So it's a bit different, but it is an engineering mindset. But I've done a lot of marketing, for instance, for laser scanners. And I went to the EClass website and I Googled, looked up what I know. So I looked up a laser scanner, and what I found was not the laser scanner I was looking for. I was looking for a 3D industrial laser scanner that scans point clouds instead of a 2D barcode reader. The same with 3D printers. 3D printers come in all kinds of shapes and styles and forms and qualities. How do you deal with that?
EClass is still in development. And it is, the industrial experts put change requests and development on the standard into the standard. Sorry, and so that sometimes happens that a product is not well described or not available yet. But it doesn't matter. It is for free to put improvements to the EClass standard. We have a web interface here. Do not hesitate. Is something missing? Put this onto the standard. We are leasing every year. And we're working on the web interface that companies can put directly from the PIM systems improvements to that. But I'm pretty sure that most of the industry demanded products and assets are available, from the low voltage switchgear over the feed-through terminal blocks to every tool, oil, screws, and complex composite devices like trains and planes. So, yeah.
Yeah, I saw a really nice group of partners and members that you have.
Yes.
Going back to the previous question, small follow-up. Is the standard backwards compatible? And so if things change, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with upgrades that are breaking changes?
Yeah, we are producing between the versions an only machine-readable migration document. It is called TUF. That means transaction update file. So you can your machine can read it, and then you can switch between the versions. Of course, if there are new properties available, you can switch from null to the new property. Of course, you can only migrate if there's content available. But with this TUF documents and the switching between the versions, it is possible to handle different versions and updates and downgrades of EClass. And that is the reason, because lots of the EClass power users can offer different versions of the EClass standard, because it is depending on the branches and companies demanding different versions of the standard here. And there are funny things. For example, Volkswagen Audi. Audi is claiming EClass 10.0 and Volkswagen is claiming EClass 5.1. So you see here different kinds of EClass versions, but for most of the users, that is not a problem due to the TUF migration documents here.
Okay, good. Looking through the partner list, it's who's who of big industrial companies in Europe. ABB, ÖBB, Siemens, Robert Bosch. How can a company participate, and how big do you have to be? Because these are big names, and even the small names are rather big.
Yeah, in general, improving the standard is for free. Everybody can do this. If you want to use EClass and describe your products, it is subject to license. Getting EClass and reading EClass is royalty free. That means the producers have to pay a license for describing their products. And if you want to invest in the development of the EClass standard from strategy point of view, then you are becoming a member. EClass has round about 4,000 companies using it, from very small one-person companies to big shots of the European or global active players. And EClass has 150 members who are controlling, driving the development of the EClass standard. And so in most of the cases, it is more interesting for the big shots to not only to participate, but to influence and develop the standard. So I'm very proud to have Schneider Electric, Alibaba, Siemens on board here.
Wow. Yes, I would suggest everybody to look at the EClass website and see who is involved, because it is really big. However, they are mostly European companies. So are there competing standards? Because I can't imagine the world not looking for a standard and it just being European companies.
Yeah, unfortunately for product description standards, there are lots of standards. Some are sector-based and only available in sectors. Some are global active, as EClass. I don't think that EClass is the best one, which is available, but it's one of the best standards because first of all, I think we have the best technical solution because it's invented for machine interpretable and machine readable, not only for humans. And the second fact is we are independent from the sector. And so it is quite interesting for big companies to use the standard, because big companies purchasing A, B, and C parts. And that means from a complex machine to oil to screws, everything. And so it is interesting to describe everything. And we have lots of customers from the medical industry. Think of a hospital. A hospital is interested in medical devices, in chemicals, but also in furniture, to have the beds and the chairs. And for services, the medical surgery, the doctors, the nurses, you can describe their functions and their skills with EClass. And so it is a sector independent and quite important here.
And is it possible to absorb the other standards or to cooperate with them? Because I can imagine that at some point you will have to merge certain standards.
Yes, in the past, EClass did this 2 times and absorbs sector-based standards. And it is also possible to work together with competitive standards. EClass is doing this with ETIM, for example. ETIM is widespread for electrical spare parts, but has a drawback that you cannot describe complex computer-aided information. And so we are providing a mapping so that machines and your systems can change between the ETIM standard and the EClass standard. We are working very tight together with the IEC and the IEC CDD dictionary. And so you can switch between IEC standard and the EClass standard. The drawback from the IEC CDD is only caring about electrical modules. If you have a pump, for example, or oil or screws, there's no voltage in it. And so companies cannot use the IEC standard in its house. And so EClass is beaten this. But unfortunately, EClass is not fully complete. So more help and more support is necessary here to develop this.
Will it ever be complete?
I hope so. But it is depending on net effects. And we are well spread in the European market, also in the Asian market, but unfortunately not in the US market. And that's a really drawback here, because the UNSPSC standard for product description is well spread here. And that will be the next step to gain this market. And absorbing more standards, getting more net effects here will help to challenge the gaps in the descriptions here.
And what happens in the near far future when we have capable AIs that will develop their own language and will not need us humans with our limited language anymore?
Yes. This could be an issue for the EClass standard, But thinking of smart X applications, for example, the European-driven Industry 4.0 or Industrie du Futur, smart manufacturing, smart cities, smart buildings, for example, you have to see this information in the context. And the machine learnings and artificial intelligence is learning by collecting data. But you have to thinking of all the assets and machines in such a smart environment, and they are producing information that should be clear. And of course, if you're trying 10 times, you will recognize in 9 cases that that is inch and not a centimeter. But you will get only the 90% solution here, not the 100% solution. And I think in the future, we are producing more data in the related context. And the more question is how I can solve the transport issue, how I can solve the payment issue, how I can solve the security issue with smart contracts, for example. And I don't think that machine learning can challenge this. I think maybe for the B2C, but not for the B2B market, I'm pretty sure.
So it would mostly be complementary and maybe even help solve the last 10% instead of being a full-out competitor.
Yeah.
That was a really nice setup to my next question. Why are you cooperating with IOTA? What led you to think, hey, we're EClass, we're very awesome, but we need IOTA?
I think lots of our customers are investing in smart solutions here. And if you're looking on the landscape, what distributed ledger technologies are available, you have to investigate of the attitudes and the characteristics of them. And the consumers are already talking about blockchains, but blockchains have a very, very great drawback. It costs lots of resources and energy to use this. And I think IOTA has a very, very solution here being in a graph available. The idea is, and the goal is to be decentralized. And if you look to the network of the industry, there are no direct connections. There is a graph of different companies here interacting and communicating, and they need a fast and a secure solution. And for me, IOTA is the best solution for this kind of communication here in the distributed ledger technology. And so I'm very happy that our customer from Bosch has opened the contact to the IOTA association here. And after a few talks to Holger Köter, I was very convinced that this will be the right and the best solution for the industry. And after Holger has a chance to say how important IOTA could be, some of our customers are very interested in and now investing in such a kind of communication here, EClass together with the IOTA tangle.
Imagine the data component being really important. Mm-hmm. But as a lot of people come here not from a technology background, but mostly from a speculation background, can you, well, it is probably more true than we want. Can you talk about how you use the value protocol in EClass, or how you can use it?
Yeah, at the moment we are testing this in the industrial marketplace. We can this explain later. Like I mentioned, first of all, EClass itself is subject to licenses when subject to license if you want to describe something. And our idea is not to sell the legacy old 2000 license, but to give the machines the chance only paying what they get. And if you communicate this with a IOTA tangle, you can build up the payments here first. Second is information will be a great value in the near future. And if machines and autonomous machines can collect information from actors, from sensors, from switch cabinets, which are smart, or low voltage switch gears, which are smart, so companies can take the opportunity to sell this information and to provide and secure this information. And this information must be transported and must be paid. And I think every asset, every machine will get its own wallet and have the chance to buy something, to pay something, and to sell something. And so it is absolutely necessary to have a smart solution here. And therefore, for the speculation guys here, it, from my expectation, IOTA will become very worthful because it will be very interesting in the near future for the industry, not only for the consumers, but in main for the industry doing automatic producing something.
So that's an important realization. It's not about home automation. It is about industry. It is about agriculture. It is about all the things that we don't see in our daily lives, but that make the world work as it is.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I have all my questions answered already, but I've seen that people have been asking questions in the chat. So, let's start with vroom vroom. What is the difference between the EClass standard and the OMG standard?
Yes, the OMG is an object management group driven by the United States mainly. They have the IEC, Internet Industrial Consortium. This kind of standardization here is very important for industrial companies. They say, if you're thinking of the ISO OC layer of languages, that means we have transportation standards, we have product description standards, we have hardware standards, and the OMG is very good caring about all of the internet technologies which can be standardized. And which are really important today for the industrial companies to have a different kind of standards here available for their business. EClass is only a product description standard. So standard is not a standard. You cannot compare, although it is the same term here. Last sentence here, we are working together with the IIC and therefore with the OMG and with our customer SAP. We are trying to produce a test bed to show how important product descriptions are. Last sentence here, OMG is de facto driven and not a norm regulated based standard like ISO and IEC. I hope that answers this a little bit.
Could you expand on the last sentence? It is a factory-based.
Yeah, it is so-called factory-based or de facto standard and not regular norm-based. You have in the world the norms. Something is normed, for example, the electricity that comes out of your wall, for example, or the units like liters or inch, and therefore these are norm-based. The governmental is participating on these norm-based here. They are very strong, very, very strong. You cannot change this. And other standards are de facto and industrial driven. So if IC and ISO, it's not getting any solution, then the industry said we need here de facto standard. And that's the difference here. And yeah, imagine if the governments are influencing something, it is slow, It is legacy, no speed, not agile. And the OMG, for example, is very agile, a very industrial driven, very use case related here, like EClass.
So from what I understand, you are mostly compatible with OMG and not competitive.
Not competitive, no.
Very good. So we'll go to the next question. Do you have contact with OMG? Yes, we have. When do you have a Tesla? When do you have a partnership with Tesla? They're American.
Unfortunately not. It would be very happy to get in contact with them because we have lots of customers from the automotive industry or producing cars. For example, Volkswagen, Audi, Renault are very investing in EClass as members, but I know that Toyota, Daimler, or BMW is using EClass. And also the automotive industry, like Bosch and so on, are using EClass. But unfortunately, no Tesla.
Because Tesla is using the automotive suppliers.
Yes, but
next question from Legrand Estrelle White. How many manufacturing companies are involved in the messaging standardization process between IoT devices? And a follow-up question, who is directing EClass?
Mm-hmm.
That one.
First question, unfortunately, I cannot tell you because we have lots of companies improving the standard. It is for free, which are not collected here. I can say we have lots of companies describing their products in the EClass standard, and then they have to buy a license here. But I cannot say this. But if you want to produce content in the standards, it's depending on, we have working groups consisting of 30 or 40 global active experts from the branches, but we have expert groups. They're sitting 5 or 6 persons in there from leading companies. It is depending on the topic or producing the content here. For example, the chemicals, you need 5 or 6 people, the very experts here. But if you're going to the medical branch or to the steel branch, you need more here. Who is directing EClass? Interesting question. The association itself, I'm asked to do the operative business of the association. The association itself has its own board. It is consisting of members from big shot companies here. And they saying, what is the strategy? What are the next steps here? But I'm responsible with my team for the operative business here.
Very good, very good. Ben Royce asked the next question. What is an exciting use case scenario that you can describe?
In fact, it is a IOTA use case in the industrial marketplace. We have produced this together with IOTA, and it will show the procurement or tendering process. There are different kinds of machines which have needs, and they can ask in this industrial marketplace for their needs. They need voltage, they need clean air, they need oil, they need screws, I don't know. And they ask these demanding requirements by producing a tangle, and the information are described in EClass, and then there are the suppliers here providing these kind of goods and assets, and they're reading the tangle and connect them and doing the business via a decentralized IOTA network here. And for me, that is very exciting because there's no human interacting with these assets here in this network, and the machines can...
No human at all.
No, yes, right. Yeah.
Wow.
And the machines can interact with their own wallets and buy something with their own wallets, and that's really exciting. And these smart X use cases from the smart manufacturing, for example, are very exciting to me, because that is the future in the next 3, 4, 5 years. And that will be the advantage for the European countries here to be very innovative. And I'm sorry, I'm coming from Europe. I'm a great fan of Europe. So sorry for that. And I'm proud if innovations coming from Europe here, because that's the only chance. The US market is really huge. There are very, very big shots here, global active. The Asian markets, they have lots of resources, lots of manpower. And I think Europe has to be innovative here.
Well, from what it sounds, we're doing that right now.
I hope so.
It is a very exciting use case. You said 3, 4, 5 years, and is that until it is production ready, or until you've figured out how it works? Because the industrial marketplace is a bit hard to grasp. What is happening right now? What is developing? We as outsiders can't really see what you're doing there.
I think it's productive ready.
As of now.
As of now, I think we have proven that the technique is almost ready here, or you can use this. But imagine the people today working in industrial companies. They're not so agile as we want to be. And that's the fact. You have the legacy systems here proven for 20 or 30 years, and you have to change this. It's a lot of change process. And for me, COVID-19 is a very bad thing, but it has proven, one, that the digitalization is coming and will help to have this autonomous thinking in the machines. And I think I know today some of my customers are testing this. That means there is a customer using this machine-to-machine communication with its suppliers and with its customers, and it works. And we have to give the industry some more time, 3 years, to have the whole change process to switch to this autonomous producing something. Yeah.
So I think it was Holger who said that after Chrysalis Part 2, IOTA will be industry ready, and after Quarter-Side it will be production ready. How do you see that? What is industry ready? What does that mean?
I think if it is so developed that industries are interested in to integrate this into their system world without lots of investments and costs. And I think we have to prove that IOTA is so well developed that you can do this decentralized use case. And if that is proven, I think the innovative companies will spend their budgets to implement this.
That's very exciting. Everybody's waiting for Quarter-Side, but the Chrysalis Part 2 means that all the breaking changes should be done, and that means that we're going into the 3, 4, 5 years of adoption within the big industrial companies. Mm-hmm. Very good. Mm-hmm. I'm going to look for the next question. Where is the EClass website? Well, that's eclass.eu. How is EClass using IOTA technology? Have we covered that?
Yeah, I think you can use the Tangle, and in the Tangle you can describe the products or information with EClass. And I think that is clear that you have the inch or the centimeters in the width, or Celsius or Fahrenheit in the degree, and so on and so on. and this will help to be to avoid the loss of information here or in transparency.
Cool. A nice follow-up question to a previous question from Jamie Hicks. Can EClass and IOTA be used to replace legacy EDI solutions in the supply chain? What role might EClass and IOTA play in future digital twins? So that's 2 questions.
Question 1, EDI means the standard of electronical data exchange. If you thinking of the billing process, you have the invoice, you have the orders, you have the DES ADV, and these are the protocols to fulfill the procurement and billing process. And I think it's a complemental here. In this kind of process, you can describe the goods and assets and products which are built, but these are the protocols for the billing. And I think there's no need to replace them. It is not competing here, but it will be a good supplemental or a good connection here. What role might EClass play in the future digital twins? I hope a very prominent role. Because if you're thinking of a digital twin, it means the digital copy of the physical asset here. And you need 5 things to handle this. Communication. I mean, IOTA can fulfill this. The product description of the data, EClass can fulfill this. You need functions and skills. EClass is working on this to collect all of them. And you need the connection device. Yeah, sorry for a little bit dry for me talking so much. And if this is fulfilled, EClass can play a prominent role to be a part of the digital twin here. I mean, in Europe, there are the that is called Platform Industry 4.0, governmental-driven things and themes here, and EClass is in charge here to be the piece of the puzzle.
Very interesting. I think identity is a big component of what will spark IOTA's growth, because it starts with identity. That's more than clear. A question about listing on American exchanges. I don't know if you have any experience on listing on American exchanges. No.
We have some users from the United States.
Okay.
But only several here. And to get listed by more after Chrysalis part. Yes. It can be helpful for EClass if IOTA is used prominent here, and we have more marketing and advertising for the industrial marketplace, for example, as a proof of concept. Then it could be helpful for EClass. The funny thing is with the United States I have to be ensured to be diplomatical here. But wait a minute. The US world is not only driven by norms. If you take a closer look to ISO IEC, that the United States driven companies are not really caring about lots of norms. So cultural standardization is not really familiar. And when it is not invented in the United States, it's hard to use here. One connection point could be the global active companies using EClass or IOTA gaining the US market, and that could be a chance to be prominent there.
So it would be organic growth in the US, and everything could help there, including the Critical Council rating IOTA as being decentralized enough, and big companies bringing it on, and NASA going for standardization, but it will not be adopted really fast. I see that we have a new question. from Ezequiel Loza from Argentina. So in the Americas, can you share documentation about it, please? I'm starting with IOTA using Python.
Documentation about Yoda.
About it is described a bit vague. Is there already a connection to EClass from IOTA, an API to?
Yeah, I think Holger has launched a website with some general information here, but also the industrial marketplace code is available on GitHub, if I remember correctly. It is open source and for free. And there is documentation and there's a code spreaded which can be used to implement it or to take a closer look to it. Otherwise, EClass is offering test XMLs. EClass is based on XML, and you can download them for free for test purposes here for experimental work. Additional is we are working on an API that with a web service you can connect maybe in the end of the year and get the EClass content what you want per JSON, for example.
Very good. That is it for our questions. If you have a question, please ask it in the next 30 seconds. I will go through my list.
A little bit pressure.
Asked everything. No, I think we have quite a comprehensive view of what EClass stands for and the connection to IOTA. I think it's really interesting that to have a lexicon on a standardized protocol to have machines have the same language so that we know what they're talking about, or at least they know what they're talking about. So that's very interesting. Jamie Hicks has one last question. Is EClass well suited for use in knowledge graphs and the semantic web? That's a very interesting question.
Oh, very difficult in the end. If you want to describe products and assets, it could be supportive here in a semantic web or in a knowledge graph. But it's not really necessary. It is a question if you want to share this semantic web or this knowledge graph with somebody, then EClass can help to interpret the information, especially if there are machines participating here. Classification can help, but is not necessary. But it could be used, yeah. Then, long answer from my side. Sorry. It is well suited, yes.
No, it was a very interesting question, slightly out of scope, but yeah. We've finished all the questions. Is there anything you want to share with the people viewing right now? Something that you have not been able to address?
Yes, IOTA has done a hackathon together with EClass for developing new EClass use cases with the industrial marketplace. It was very successful because lots of people participating on this. And maybe we are doing this in the near future. So be well informed. Keep an eye on the development here from IOTA, especially together with EClass or from EClass by itself. So it would be a pleasure if you're still interested in product descriptions here. And if you can influence the industry for smart X use cases, don't hesitate to connect with me or the EClass Association. It is an agile topic here. And it was a pleasure to be here. Wonderful moderation from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I think it's time to wrap up. Thank you for explaining how machines can use IOTA to not make silly mistakes in misinterpreting really standardized information. We hope to see the use cases come soon when IOTA is production ready. It is not in EClass dependent on EClass anymore, because from your side, it is about as ready as you can get with something that's not completely finished. Yes, I thank you very much for your time, and I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, thank you. It was wonderful. A pleasure to be here. Maybe we can repeat this in the near future. So
I would like to do that in, say, half a year, when Chrysalis Part 2 is implemented, that we can see where are we now, and what can we do, and what can people who are not with big companies do with EClass as it is.
okay, thanks. Wonderful.
So, thank you for being with us. We have a lot of new talks coming up in September. They will be published in due time. Please tune in soon, and you will hear from us through the standard channels. Bye-bye.